Greetings to all of humanity. It's really a joy, it's a pleasure, it's an honor, as usual, to be out here, out in nature, and greeting you, bringing this message of emancipation to you, pointing you to look inwardly to discover your true identity, to be your divinity. Now, with all of that being said, what I would like to speak to you about today is concerning Neville Goddard's experience and my experience. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because there's certain things I want to make clear so that I will not be misunderstood when I bring my message across. Now, Neville spoke about experiencing the promise. So it's basically the promise I want to talk about today. And Neville spoke about that reverberating, that shaking. And I think that is written in Matthew 28. Okay, I'm subject for correction, but it have to do with the resurrection. Okay, it tells you that there was a great earthquake and so on. But yes, as I was saying, he spoke about that great shaking, and I can identify with that because I had that same experience of that great shaking also. So I can tell you, yes, the first thing would be that great shaking. And you would think within yourself that if you want to think that an earthquake is taking place without, but you come to realize is within, and you come to also realize that when the Bible speaks about this great earthquake in the Bible concerning the resurrection of the Christ, it is basically speaking about you and the experience that you would have to come to the highest level of consciousness and to come to know who you are and to come to know that you are God in flesh. I can definitely identify with that. When Neville spoke about the blue liquid light and the golden liquid light that meet at the base of your spine, where he referred to it as you've been embraced and so on. Yes, I can identify with that because that did happen to me also. But there's something I want to speak about that I can't recall hearing Neville speaking about it. When I had the experience also, I had an opening of an eye within me, and that eye is like a giant eye. And that eye is as if, when an eye is closed like this and then open like that. Okay, and that was when I ascend. Okay, it was like an open of an eye. And so I want to make sure mention that to show you the reason why I always give you the symbol of the single eye. And when he spoke about the ascending like a fiery being, yes, I can identify with that also because I had that experience also. And that's how I come to realize when the Bible says, as the lightning comes from the east to the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. I can definitely identify with that. And when he speak about as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so shall the Son of Man be lifted up, I can definitely identify with that. And I can identify with everything in St. John chapter 3. Okay? But I want to really stress on the opening of the eye. And it is when afterwards me, looking on the internet, and I would have heard people talk about like the eye of Horus and so on and all of that. And when I would see a giant of this eye and so on, I realized, hey, that's what happened to me. That was like the eye that opened in me and so on. You see? So I want to really mention that because at the time I didn't know what was going on. I've never had any prior knowledge to these things before. Because if you've been listening to me, my videos, especially on my other channel, which is Black Mad Guru, you would hear me speak about all I knew was just, Christianity, just the Bible and so on. But I would like to say this, that every church I would have gone to, even from a little boy, the preachers was all amazed concerning me, and they always knew that something great was going to take place in my life, and I was going to use it. Would have always said to me that I was called out, I was set apart, and all of these things. But, you know, they thought I would have been just like them, you know, having the people still believing in this idol, Jesus, and so on, and having the people still believing in a historical or a secular Christ, okay, a historical Jesus, right? But my whole thing changed, my whole perspective changed, and I would have already come out of organized religion, come out of church, and I would have swear that I wouldn't have anything to do with Christianity at all before I could have even come into that kind of experience. Also, as I was saying before, that the experience that Neville had and the experience I have also, I can speak about hearing the unearthly wind. And I would have heard the unearthly wind when I was at the age of 30, when I met the one that came from the burning bush that wasn't consumed, and that man was a black man. And strangely enough, that black man that came from that burning bush that wasn't consumed at that time, while I was still actually in Christianity, it was when I turned the age of 30, as I would have just mentioned, and I had some tapes in my apartment with the name written William Branham, and that was a white man by the name of William Branham. And I didn't know who William Branham was when I had those tapes, and when I had the dream, I still didn't even know who William Branham was. And I would have asked the guy who was in the next apartment to me, who was working at an internet cafe at the time, to check out William Branham for me. And every time he would promise me and then he would forget. And then one Sunday, when I was with my Bible in my hand and was walking, a guy stopped his vehicle and asked me to take a ride with him. And it was a guy who I would have known. And that guy used to be in the Pentecostal church, in the New Testament Church of God, to be specific. And then he started speaking to me and asking me if I know anything about who's the prophet for this age and so on and so on. And so, to cut a long story short, he was the one who asked me if I ever heard about William Branham. And when I told him yes, he was shocked. He couldn't believe that I knew about William Branham. And that's how I get to explain to me about the tapes. And so on. He told me there was a place that they are worshiping and believing in William Branham. And so I tell him I want to go by that place and see. And so on. And I went there, and there is where I was inspired. And I was told to go there until, and that until happened to be 7 years, is when I left there now, and so on. And I decided I would have nothing to do with church again. You know, when I came into that experience, and this day I can actually decode everything that William Branham teach, and many people who look like me are still chopped in that message of William Branham, especially my brothers who are in Africa. And anyone who would listen to my first channel, which is Black Mad Guru, you would hear me always speak about the Third Exodus Assembly and speak to the followers of William Branham from my early videos when I now started my YouTube channel. And so with that kind of experience, right, that's how I really come to realize that even William Branham, they all were dealing with the esoteric, and they were the black people specifically were fed the exoteric side of William Branham's message. And then I understand a lot of things that's been going on. So I always have to bring my message across a certain kind of way. Plus the way how I grew up and being one who born in the Caribbean, and how they have church and state linked together in the Caribbean, and they're forcing religion upon you in school and teach you in a way to have an employee mentality. I have to bring across my message a certain way. Okay, so let me just get back on what I was saying concerning Neville Goddard experience and my experience. So as I was speaking concerning having met the man from the burning bush, I was speaking of all of that with William Branham to show you that's when I had the experience. So it's very strange to see that I was following a white man at the time. I was listening to a white man, because I didn't start even following the message of William Branham at that time. Okay? And to see, I would have, well, I don't want to go into the whole dream and what take place at this moment, but to see that I was following I had these tapes in my house, and I had this dream of this black man, and I was given a commission, and the commission is that I am sending you, and that's all I was hearing in English. The rest of the language, I couldn't understand the language, but I knew when I turned 4 and 5, which is 45, and 4 and 5 is 9, that I would know my purpose and come to know. Well, now I come to know numerology and realize that I would have come to the 9 power, and there's no number higher than 9, and so on. And sometimes I even ask myself, how do I know these things? How I know these things? And many a time it's just strictly inspiration. Even as I come here to make videos, to speak to you, I don't plan. I don't study. I don't do none of these things. I have no scholarship. I'm not an intellectual. All I'm doing, I'm just teaching from my experience. That's why I would never say anything or believe anything or hold to anything or ask anyone to believe on anything that I think is just theory. Okay? So yes, let me just move on concerning the whole experience. And I was speaking about having how the unearthly went. So I was just saying, when I was 30 years of age, that's the first time I would have heard that unearthly wind. And here, when I was having this experience, I was hearing that unearthly wind again. So it was fire and wind and so on. And there was water when I was 30 years of age too, because there was like a running river, and there was like a bridge separating myself and the black man. He was over on the other side, and I would have come back to like a little child. Okay? So, yes, those things I can definitely identify with Neville with. And when he said he ascended, I did ascend also. And when he said that he came out of his skull, yes, I can identify with that. And he said that you will pull the rest of yourself out. And yes, I did that to pull the rest of myself out. And there I became invisible. Neville also said that his brothers were like in the corner, his 3 brothers, and they asked, where is Neville, baby, and so on. I didn't have that kind of experience, but the experience I had when I came out and became invisible, the next scene of the dream is that I was like a little child, when a little child just born, and that part of the child that is still connected to the mother, that part was connected to like a great magnet. That's how I come to realize that everything is basically in us, that we are actually electrical and magnetic. And I actually wanted to cut myself away from that great magnet, but I couldn't cut myself away when I was having the experience. And I remember one time I was listening to a video on the internet with a man named Manly Pihal. And I think I would have heard people spoke of him as being an occultist and so on, and one who belongs to secret society or whatever. Okay? And I would have heard him mention something to that, and that was the first time I would have heard someone actually speak about that experience I had, whereby I think he mentioned like the umbilical cord or something like that, right? And that's when I realized, hey, that's my experience. That's the first time he speak, and that's what I actually experienced. So, and then I want to come to that part where Neville spoke about after all of that experience, where a young lad came in his dream and called him father, and he said he was white and he was blonde, and he said that was David. But in my experience, to be honest with you, I don't know if it's a month later, 3 months later, or 2 months later, but a number of time would have passed when I would have had that other dream, when that lad called me father, and that lad was black. It was a melanated youth calling me father. So Neville said David was white and blonde, but for me, it was black. Okay, I had the experience of a black child calling me father. So my David, which represents humanity, from my experience, was black. And it's black. And when we look at Neville and Abdullah pointed out to Neville the mystery of the Sphinx and show him that the Sphinx have what is known as the lion, the man, no, the lion, the eagle, the bull, and so on, and that is in the book of Revelation and so on, right? And the head was the head of a man, and the Neville pointed out to Abdullah, pointed out to Neville that the head of the man is the head of a Negro. So you see, I have to bring my message as a messenger across to humanity a certain way. So with all of that being said, I think, what I really want to say, I would have got it across. And I just want to say that, my thing is that there's only one race, and it's the human race. I believe in the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man, but I have to speak the truth. Doesn't matter what it costs, I have to speak the truth. And I can definitely say that the people in the Caribbean and the school system, and the kind of school system that they have, that the children are actually being brainwashed to believe in Jesus as an idol, and it's mental slavery. I'm not afraid to say that. And those who had some sort of agenda to put people in slavery, they are doing the same thing, but it's now mental slavery. And I'm not trying to save like all black people, because many not gonna believe what I'm saying to them. But I have to speak the truth, because it is said that you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. And I'm free. I'm free from all mental slavery, and no one could tell me about any Jesus. That's an idol. That's a white idol. And people who believe in Jesus and call upon the name of Jesus, they're in idolatry, and that is keeping them in poverty. It is keeping them in mediocrity. And I'm not afraid to say that there are many people on the internet who's teaching the message that Abdullah taught, Neville Goddard, and they're hiding. Some are trying to bring it across like businessmen and so on, and some are not even mentioning Neville. And when I mention Abdullah, when I mention certain things, there's certain people who want to come and make certain comments and tell me what to say and what not to say. No one can tell me what to say and what not to say. I never tried to tell Wayne Dyer and the many others that I never tried to question why they didn't mention Abdullah, why they ever speak anything about Abdullah, and those who are hiding and not mentioning Neville and charging people so much money to teach them certain things. I don't go, questioning them. So let me just say this. I do what I'm called to do. Everyone have a purpose on this earth. I'm going to walk according to my purpose. I'm going to teach according to my purpose, because I'm not afraid of anything. I am fearless. The most thing a person can really fear in this life is death. And we all have to die. And whether you die now or you die tomorrow, it's the same death. And it's not real. So it's to me, it's a laugh. Because this life, it's a game, and that's how you play the game. This body is a slave to the mind. And who wanna play the part of a slave? That's their choice. Who wanna play the part of just being human? That's their life. And those who want to play the part of understanding and knowing that their spirit having a human experience, good for them. I'm with them. So, with all of that being said, I just want to say to those people who want to make certain comment, and think I'm playing some sort of race game. I'm not on any race game with anyone. So just get your acts right. And I just want to put you guys straight, who may comment like that, and you know who you are. And when I wrote that book called The Black Mystic from Ethiopia, Neville Goddard Mentor, I wrote that book bringing a message to people who have been enslaved and been kept in mental slavery, and who been taught the Jesus story. So you have to understand certain things. I'm born and grow up in the Caribbean, live in the Caribbean. I'm a Caribbean man. So I have to teach what I have to teach, because I have to live my purpose. Henry Ford lived his purpose. Andrew Carnegie lived his purpose. Napoleon Hill lived his purpose. All of these people, the Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur Wright, they lived their purpose. Alexander Graham Bell, you name it, they all live their purpose, and I have to live my purpose. They leave their legacy, I must live my legacy too. So with that being said, and with respect, I reach out to all of humanity that this message I bring to them, it is the single eye message of self-realization, of which Matthew 6:22 says, if I be single, your whole body be full of light. And hadn't it been that I would have had that experience where I would have awakened within myself like a fiery being and heard the unearthly wind and ascended up on high and exit my skull and became invisible, I would not have been here bringing this message of the invisible to you. I always giving you the symbol of the single eye, because I would have risen above here and understand the capping of the pyramid and what it's all about, and why the pyramid was not capped, and tell you that it have to do with you. It is the statue of a perfect man. When you come to discover your higher self, your true self, when you come to discover your divinity, that's your true identity. That's the reason why I always say, when you have the experience, you come to understand that it is the rising of the S-U-N in a S-O-N, and that it is the dawning of a new day in your life, and that the sun, as in the S-U-N, is the giver of all life, and that without the sun there is no life and there is no light, and without the human imagination there isn't anything made that was made, and that the sun parallels the human imagination and the human imagination parallels the sun, and the sun is what powers all of humanity. That's the reason why the Bible tells in Psalms 84:11 that the Lord thy God is a sun and a shield, and no good thing will he withhold from you. Not any Jesus. There's no Jesus who is the light of the world. That's deception. Also in Malachi 4:2 it tells you that the S-U-N of righteousness shall arise in you with healing in his wings. And I would have had that experience. That's the reason why I always encourage all of humanity to believe in their mind power, which is their solar power, their sun power, their creative power, to achieve their every desire. So with that being said, I want to say peace, love you all, I'm out.